The last part of chapter 1 is talking about Boolean expressions. You've seen this concept before in your high-level work, but now we got to look at it from a low-level standpoint. We're not talking about Java or C++ anymore. Not, and or mean what they always did. So make sure you know what a unary operator is, make sure you know what a binary operator is, and make sure you know what each one of these does. For instance, not is like flipping a switch, literally. If something were false, it now becomes true. If something were true, it becomes false. In other words, if electricity was flowing through a pathway, now it stops. If before it wasn't flowing through a pathway, now it starts. With and, just like before, the only time the whole expression can be true is if both of the operands are true. So right here, we've got these two true operands, and the result is true. But all these before are false because one or more of these things were false. So let's look at how this works at a bit level. We've got two numbers, x and y, and it shows each of their bit patterns. Each of these is 1 byte, in other words. We're going to do the AND operation 1 bit at a time. So we take this one, true, and false is false. True and false is false. True and true is true. And so we go through all of those bits, all 8 of them, for each number, pairing those up, and we get this result when we AND these two numbers together. Now, those of you that have done some network study, when you talk about a bit mask, that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking a certain mask made up of 1s and O's, and you're just ANDing that together with another set of bits. OR is sort of the inverse of AND. The only way that an OR operation can end up false is if both parts are false. Otherwise, if at least one of the parts is true, then the result of an OR is true. Let's take two more numbers, x and y. This time we're going to OR them together. So we do the OR operation bit by bit. So false or false is false. False or false is false. True or true is true. And so on. We get here, false or true is true. True or false is true. And so as long as at least one of the bits in one of the numbers is a 1, we end up with 1s down here. The order of operations is found right here. Not is first, then and, then or. Now that can be overridden with parentheses. So if you look at this, we have to do the or first. So x or y. And then we do the not. So that's why out here it's saying or, then not. This out here is not really the order of operations. That's found here. This results because parentheses can override the order of operations. That's a little bit confusing in the book. So let's look at some truth tables for more elaborate combinations, if you will. We've got two variables, x and y. Most of the time, you're going to see this y over here by the x and this not x over here. But we'll go ahead and do this one the way they've got it set up. Then I'll show you the way that you'll see it usually. We're going to OR these together, not x and y. So I've got my x values. And then I'm just going to flip those because this says not x. So wherever there's an f here, there's a t here, and vice versa. And then y's, we have to choose y's so that every combination of x's and y's come out. In other words, we got false, false. We got false, true, true, false, true, true. So those are the only possible combinations of x and y's. Now we take this column and we OR them together. So true or false is true. True or true is true. False or false is false. False or true is true. So in other words, this right here is the result of not x ORed together with y. Now let me show you how that would normally look, in most books anyway. Like I said, most of the time you'll see just your normal variables grouped together. That's going to help you get your possible combinations when you start adding variables. So the way I do it, I just put down x as being true twice and false twice. That way I can look right across here and I'm saying, okay, I've got both trues, true false, false true, false false. You don't have to do it that way. I'm just saying here's a way to do it. And then I do my not x. So I'm just flipping this column here. And then I'm going to OR these together and I get the same result as I did before. You can use ones and O's, you can use T's and F's, it doesn't matter. What's important is the logic. By the way, how do I know how many rows I'm going to need in my table? Well, here's how you tell. I've got two variables, and however many variables I have, I just raise 2 to that power. So I know in this one, I'm going to need 4 rows. If I had 5 variables, like X, Y, Z, W, and Q, then I would have, how many? I'd have 32 rows. And there's a lot of logic that's that complex. It's going to take a bunch of rows to solve that. Let's take a look at the next one in the book. Okay, notice we've got X ANDed together with not Y. They start off with their variables. Again, their pattern's different from what I would do, but that's fine. And then notice this says not Y, so it's just whatever's in this column, the opposite's in this column. Now we're going to AND these together. X and not Y. So that means I've got to AND this column and this column. So false and true is false. False and false is false. True and true is true. True and false is false. So our result is going to be right here of this Boolean expression. Here's example 3. Notice I've got 3 variables. I've got Y, S, and X. So that means I'm going to need 2 to the 3rd power. I'm going to need 8 rows, and that's exactly what I've got over here. They're putting all 3 variables together, and my advice is come up with some kind of pattern or you're going to miss one of these things. If you know that you need 8 rows, watch out because it's real easy to duplicate one of these. So then they're saying, now then we've got to take each of these separately because we have to do what's inside the parentheses first because that's overriding the normal order of operations. So we're just taking the Y and S part first. So I'm just ANDing these 2 columns together, and you notice as we go down that the result is exactly what an AND would be for these 2 columns right here. The next thing I do is get a not S because in this one I need not S. And then I'm going to AND that together with X. That means we've got to go all the way back to the X, AND it together with not S to get this. So that's what's going on all the way down there. So I've got false and true is false. I'm just picking out a few of them here. False and false is false. See if there's any of them where both of them are true. Yeah, this one. True and true is true. So now we've done both of these things, and now we're going to OR those together. So in other words, I'm taking this column right here, and I'm ORing it together with this one. And if you just look at a couple of them, false or false is false. False or true is true. True or false is true. And I don't think we have any where both of them are true. But we didn't need to. Here's our results. And like I said, these can get really complex. Those of you with the ebook when you get to the section reviews, those things are interactive, and which means you can just kind of figure this up and then answer, and it'll tell you whether you're right or wrong. So we have to do what's in the parentheses first here, and so I've got true and false. Well, true and false is false. But when I OR that together with true, I've got false or true. Well, that result is true. And so I can see if my answer is right. I can go to the next one. Notice we've got parentheses here, false or true. Well, false or true, that's true. And then I use the not, that means the whole thing is now false. And so on, and I can go through those. That's pretty much section 1.4.